Hello everybody, my name is Colin339. Welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, is going to be another deck profile video, and in this one, it's going to be my Pure Mitsurugi deck profile I won a giant card with on Saturday, and then got second place with on Sunday over the past weekend at YCS Anaheim. So yeah, I did 2 giant card tournaments with this list, and like I just said, I won on Saturday the giant Cupsy Yummy. I ended up moving that because that thing was way too big and there was no way I was going to get that home, and I wasn't going to pay like $200 or $300 for shipping. But on Sunday, I did it once again because my my teammate was doing day 2, so I was like, kill some time, let's do another giant card, right? And I was like, I don't even know if they're going to allow me to sign up because, you know, I won on Saturday, but they did. And, well, as you can see right here, I got second place at that one. I still made it to the finals. I couldn't go back-to-back. I couldn't get the giant Cupsy and the giant Lupus, but I did end up getting a smaller Cupsy Yummy Way that you can see behind me here. Did I just say Cupsy Yummy Way? Sorry, I don't know. I don't know these cards. I don't play Yummy. Fuck Yummy. But, yeah, I got second place. This one was small enough to fit on the plane, so I took this one home with me. So, yeah. So, this video is not only going to be a deck profile, but I also want to just talk about how YCS Anaheim went. If you want to just kind of skip to the deck profile, you can. I don't blame you. But if this ends up being like a little bit of a longer video, I do apologize because I do kind of want to talk about the format, the things I love, the things I hate, how YCS Anaheim kind of went for me, and then obviously my matchups for the both giant cards that I participated in as well. So I might as well just get to the deck profile, and then we'll just talk about the experiences after the deck profile for the people who just wants to know the deck profile. So we'll start off with the main deck. So this is a 42 card deck. There's nothing really special about the deck, to be honest with you. There's really just, in my opinion, just a standard list. I kind of just played it well, was all. So starting off with the rituals, we're playing 3 Habakiri, 2 Murakumo, and 1 Futso. Again, this is pretty standard, especially for Pure. Maybe you can see like a 3rd Murakumo in Pure, but I think this is pretty fine. You don't really want to brick on them. They're fine to draw, but you have to draw like the ritual spells to go with them. You still have to draw a combo. Now, Habakiri obviously is a 1-card combo, so it's fine with this playing at 3, but 2 Murakumo, 1 Futso is fine. You only need 1 Futso. It sucks to draw, but it's fine. It's fine to be in the deck. But yeah, the very, very standard stuff when it comes to the rituals. Nothing you would really change. Maybe, again, like I said, you would play the 3rd Murakumo, but the 3rd Murakumo isn't really as necessary. So that is it for the rituals. Now on to the Mitsurugi monsters. We are on as much consistency as possible. So we're on 3 Armasa, 2 Saji, 1 Kusanji, and then I was playing Serpent as well with a Wosu. So yeah, this was, again, pretty standard when it comes to Pure. You play 3 Armasa because it's just a 1-card combo for the deck. It's a normal summon. This deck doesn't necessarily normal summon, so drawing this as your normal summon is fine. Again, does get you to Habakiri, which is very important because Habakiri does the full combo by itself. But it also can search for other stuff, like going second. You can search for the 1 of Wosu I decided to play. But yeah, you need to be playing 3 Armasa, especially if you're going to be playing Pure. It just makes sense. Now, if you're playing it as like a splashable engine on Mitsurugi, like in Yummy or in K9 or something like that, you probably play it at 1. To be honest with you, I really don't like Armasa in any like splashable versions of the deck, but in Pure you do play 3 because you need as much consistency as possible. So I am playing 3 of that. 2 Saji, you can maybe play this at 1, but I played it at 2 because, you know, it's still not bad, like especially since you're on a lot of names in the deck, like being able to, like, if you draw a ritual monster, just being able to know summon Saji, search a ritual spell is still not bad. It's still not the greatest in the world, but since the deck is a lot more heavier on the Mitsurugi stuff, it isn't as bad as a draw as in like splashable engines in the like in Yummy. It'd probably be like a bad draw, right? But in this deck, it is really good. So I did decide to play 2. You're only playing the 1 Kusanji. I did think about maybe playing 2 of him, especially with a certain card I am playing in the deck that I'll get to in 1 second. But I decided just to stick with just 1. You only necessarily need the 1. It does suck when it does get banished, though. But that only matters for the grind match, which I very much rarely got into. But in the grind matches, Kusanji does matter a lot. So if this ends up not being in rotation, it does kind of suck. So maybe you want to play 2. But it is a brick in hand. You don't necessarily want to play more than 1 Kusanji. 1 Night Sword word Serpent. This was just so I can have an extender off my ritual spells, to be honest with you. Just being able to use my extra deck as a toolbox extra deck was nice. So just getting that extra body was good for me. So I just like Serpent in Mitsurugi. So I am playing the one Serpent. And then I'm playing the one Mosu. This is kind of your main deck out to something like a Lunalite Liger Dancer, any unaffected assholes. Being able to like tribute someone like or just being able to get clear like a Snatchy. If they already wasted like a quick play and they have like a Snatchy plus a level 1 on field, being able to just get rid of the Snatchy before they even activate it is good enough for you. It does lock you into reptiles. It's the only card that like hard locks you into reptiles, but you can summon a lot of times before this because it locks you for the rest of the turn, not for the turn. So I think Wosu is a fine enough one of in the deck, so especially since there is Lunalite running around, you need to have an out to Liger Dancer, and this deck does have a main deck out to the Liger Dancer, but this is also just a nice going second piece as well. Being able to like trip you summon like a ritual from hand as well, being able to trigger and get like a searches off of it is pretty good as well. So that is it for the Mitsurugi monsters. Now on to the spell traps, which we're playing a lot of. Let me just quickly move that over there. We are playing 3 prayers, 3 preparations of rites, 1 mirror, 2 ritual, 1 magatama, and then 1 purification with 1 pot of prosperity. Sorry, we have a lot of spell traps. Let me try to condense this as much as possible here. I'm seeing my camera. Sorry, give me 1 second just to make sure I fit everything on screen. Yeah, this is just going to have to go there. 1 purification and then 1 pot of prosperity. So yeah, a lot of spell cards. So 3 prayers, just mandatory. Like this is a consistency card. It's a card that lets you play around Droll and Lockbird as well, which is very prevalent, especially during YCS Anaheim. I think a lot of people were expecting to be versing Droll. So prayers is a mandatory 3 of because it does help you play around Droll. Being able to like tribute like an Armasa in hand or a ritual monster in hand to get, search a ritual spell and a monster straight away in your draw phase makes it where you can summon Murakumo. So if they end up drawing you can make them discard another card to make sure that Droll resolves. It's actually really, really good. Prayers, mandatory 3 of for sure, but also has other stuff since it's a quick play, being able to like get Murakumo during your opponent's turn to blow up the field. Very nice, but yeah, pretty standard. You need to play 3 automatically of this card. 3 preparations are right, plus the 1 mirror is very standard for Pier. I did see a lot of people playing this in like splashable variants, like in K9 and Yummy. So that's a little shocking to me. But in Pier, this is like a mandatory because it's just more consistency for the deck, being able to search Habakiri and getting to mirror. It lets you play around like certain things like Black Goat. Like I got Black Goated a lot this weekend as well. But when they call Murakumo, Black Goat makes it where you cannot special summon except from the graveyard. So mirror, if you can get Murakumo to the graveyard, you can just ritual summon Murakumo from the graveyard. So it helps you play around something like Black Goat Laughs, which is really important. But again, pre-prep is in here just because it is a consistency tool, but it also gets mirror, which is like a nice ritual spell for the deck as well. 2 Mitsurugi ritual. I think there's been certain times in the tournament I'm like, I should just play this at 1, to be honest with you. In Pier, it probably makes sense to play 2 because you want to see the ritual spell as much as possible. It is a broken ass ritual spell. But to be honest with you, I really, really just want to cut this down to 1. I only necessarily need the 1. You have plenty of ways to get to it. So I really do want to put this 2-1, but I am playing 2. So maybe like in game 2s and game 3s when you put your sideboard in, I would like cut it down to 1 because again, all you necessarily need is 1. But again, for consistency, playing 2 is probably fine. I was playing 1 Magatama for going first or second is pretty nice. Being able to go in second, interrupt a field, or try to break a field, tripping a reptile like to dodge like certain negations and stuff like that is pretty nice. Or being able to just set this on turn 1, like as your turn 1 field, is pretty good as well. So I really, really do like Magatama in the deck, but I only played the 1 because it is searchable in the deck. You don't necessarily need to play 1 as well. 1 Pot of Prosperity just for more consistency. That's really all it is. You don't need your extra deck in this deck, so Pot of Prosperity is perfectly fine to be in this deck. And then 1 Great Purification just as a going first, being able to negate. But going second, there's actually a lot of ways to get this in the graveyard. Something like Wosu. When you tribute, you can send a card from your hand to graveyard to add itself back to hand. So if you end up drawing this, you can send this off with that. But we're also playing like Non-Genjin that we're about to talk about in 1 second. That also gets this card to the graveyard if you draw it as well. So it's not really that bad to draw because you have plenty of ways to get it to graveyard. Because its graveyard effect, it's also very nice to be able to summon a reptile from your graveyard and then tribute another monster on your field. So very, very, again, very standard kind of spell trap lineup, to be honest with you. There's really nothing special about it. but I was just playing as much consistency as possible because I did not want to break whatsoever. If you draw engine, you are able to break a lot of fields with it. So as long as you draw engine, that's what my thought process was, is just draw engine, because Mitsurugi can break fields by itself anyway, so just play as much as consistency as possible there. So that is it for the Spell Trap lineup for the Mitsurugi stuff. Now let's get into our non-engine. We are playing 3 Mulch Army Fuas, 1 Dimension Shifter, 3 Forbidden Droplet, 3 Super Polys, 3 Dominus Impulse, and 3 Infinite Impermanent. So yeah, this is the non-engine I went with. I think this is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16 non-engine in a 42 card deck is not bad. I think so I kind of, as you can see, went for the more board breaker approach. I didn't really want to play hand traps with this because pure Mitsurugi, or just Mitsurugi in general, is just a really good board breaker type of deck. So I think trying to throw hand traps in a board breaker type of deck just doesn't make sense to me. So I just try to go with more of the board breaker options. Now Imperm you can probably count as like a hand trap kind of piece, or the same thing with Impulse, but they also can break fields. Being able to correctly time your Imperm to like Imperm a Herald of Arclight to make sure they don't get the Omni negation during your turn, or being able to Impulse like a Prayers or what the fuck is that quick play called? A Yummy Surprise at a certain time is really, really good as well. So even though these are by technical hand traps, Dominus Impulse and Infinite Impermanence, I still consider them board breakers. You can still use them going, or like if you draw them for turn going second, you can still very much use them. So even though they're technical hand traps, I still consider them board breakers. So board breaker type hand traps. But Super Poly and Droplet very much are board breakers. Super Poly I think is one of the best cards in the format, especially for board breakers. So I really do like this card. Same thing with Forbidden Droplet. I'm the biggest fan of Forbidden Droplet. So if I ever get a chance to play Forbidden Droplet, I'm going to play it, and that's what I did. And Droplet was insane in this tournament. Dimension Shifter is the weird one. It's actually not weird in Pure. Pure Mitsurugi does not care about its graveyard whatsoever, because as long as they're tributed, they still trigger their effects, and especially with the ritual monsters, they still get to special summon from the banished area. So Dimension Shifter actually doesn't hurt Mitsurugi whatsoever. So you do play Shifter as the one-of, as just a floodgate, which is really dumb. Don't know why this card is still legal. They should just ban the fuck out of Shifter. Shifter does not deserve to be in the game anymore, to be honest with you. And that's the thing I want to talk about with the format, but I'll talk about the format after I talk about the deck profile. But Shifter, yeah, I think this card should be automatically in any Pure Mitsurugi deck. Pure Mitsurugi does not care about it, and it's just a floodgate that does fuck over your opponent a lot of the time as well. It might conflict with like Forbidden Droplet, but I think you're willing to take that chance because Shifter is just really, really insane. And then 3 Fua is just the premier going second card in the game. Being able to get a couple draws is nice, especially in this deck is very good. If your opponent ends on a half board, Pure Mitsurugi is going to blow that out. So Fua is just absolutely insane for the deck as well. And especially if you're drawing this non-engine with Fua, it's just pretty much over, right? So that was the non-engine I went with in the tournament, and it worked. I loved every single part of this non-engine. Would not change it whatsoever. And that's actually going with the main deck. I would not change anything about the main deck. I loved the main deck. Now for the side deck, that's different, but we'll talk about that once we get to the side deck. So that is it for the deck. That, again, 42 card list. Maybe you can shave it down to 40, but 42 was perfectly fine with me. Now on to, we'll get to the extra deck first before we get into the side deck. So extra deck was just kind of just toolbox. Again, this deck doesn't need its extra deck, so you kind of just use kind of a toolboxy extra deck. Cards that might come up like in certain scenarios you play, and that's really it, but you don't necessarily need your extra deck. So IP, SP, Dynamondo, Dark, and Underworld Goddess is my Link lineup I'm playing in the extra deck. So IP, SP kind of makes sense. IP you can make on a turn 1 feel like IP Dynamondo, or IP, sorry, not Dynamondo, IP in Murakumo with like a prayer set is kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. So IP I think is kind of a mandatory in the extra deck, but again, it's just a staple kind of card for the extra deck. So this deck can play it going first, and it's really good. I would continue with that. SP is kind of the target for this, but you also have Dynamondo as a target if you need to as well. I do like the idea of Dynamondo, even though did not make it once. I think this is there's only 2 cards in the extra deck I did not make once the entire weekend, and Dynamondo was one of those cards, but in testing it came up all the time. So I don't know. I'm going to stick with Dynamondo. Again, most of the extra deck you don't need, so having like a blank spot here is fine. But I think Dynamondo does come up enough where you do need to play, because in this deck it is kind of ridiculous being able to summon back your Murakumo during your opponent's turn. Very, very ridiculous. So those are pretty standard. Dark the Dark Charmer, I just kind of went with it because everyone's on Mitsurugi. Like, legit everyone. Like, Yummy's on it, K9's on it. There's peer variants out there, right? Like, the only deck this is pretty much dead against is Dracotail, but if they're on like the branded version, it technically isn't that much of a dead card, right? So Dark was really, really good. I summoned this a lot of the times, being able to steal like Murakumos from my opponent's graveyard was pretty nice. So I do like Dark a lot. It would not cut Dark at all. And then Underworld Goddess, this might be a little weird because you're like, why are you playing Underworld when you have Wosu in the deck? So I was just like, just in case they get to like a double Liger Dancer type of field, I want to have Underworld Goddess in the extra deck, because Underworld is able to at least link off one of them, and then you can go Wosu Tribute off the other. They probably won't let you get that far, to be honest with you, but the idea is that Underworld is kind of a nice play if you want to. And I did make it once. It was weird. I versed Lunalight. He made a Liger Dancer off of Heavy Storm, or Heavy Polymerization, with while I had IP on the field, and then went effect to blow up the field during the main phase. I was like, okay, I'll just chain the IP. I had Murakumo Habakiri on the field, and I went, oh, I can just summon Underworld. So I went IP, link off my entire field, because I was losing it anyways, and link off his Liger Dancer into Underworld. Underworld's protected because of IP's protection, or destruction protection effect. So I just out of the Liger Dancer for free. So, but I can see why you probably don't want to play this card, because they probably will never let you get that far to get to Underworld Goddess. But I played it because, again, the extra deck is not tight whatsoever. You can throw whatever you want in this extra deck. So that was it for the Link lineup there. Now on to the XYZ package here. I was playing one Evil Swarm Nightmare, one Exciton Knight, one Tornado Dragon, one Dengirsu, one Garunix, one Zeus, and one Typhon as well. Kind of a lot of XYZs, but pretty much every single one of them came up. The only other one, so like I said, Dynamondo was one of the few extra deck cards I did not make in this tournament. The other one I did not make was Garunix. Garunix was another one I did not make. But in theory, it's still fine, because if you have 2 level 8s on the field, which is both, 2 ritual monsters, and you need to pop a spell trap, Garunix is still fine. Sure, the board wipe is never really going to come up because Murakumo is your board wipe. But I still played it in the extra deck just in case. And even though it wasn't one of those cards I never made in the tournament, I still think I would play it, because I still think it has the value. Just the idea of it is still fine to me. Again, this is just a staple, or a kind of a toolbox extra deck, so not everything is going to come up in every tournament. So I still would keep this in the extra deck. But for everything else, Evil Swarm Nightmare is kind of your turn 1, like Enfield. You want to try to make IP, Murakumo, Evil Swarm Nightmare. If you make that field, plus like 4 set cards, which is not hard to do in this deck, it's very hard for them to break through that field. Exciton Knight is kind of those things that they get to if you get to 2 level 4s and they let you resolve that, or if they just let you have 2 level 4s, making Exciton Knight is just, back-breaking for them, especially if they don't have a negation for this card. It's really just insane. I won one of my games because my opponent just let 2 level 4s stick onto the field. I knew the 1-card set, or the 2-card set, was Prayers and Surprise. So I went, oh, he has no negation for this. Make Exciton Knight, blow up your entire field, and like that just won me the game right there. So if this card resolves, you do just win the game. So I think it's worthwhile playing this card. Tornado Dragon, just so you have like a back row removal in your extra deck, because that's the one thing that Mitsurugi lacks, is being able to pop spell traps, because they can clear monsters easily, but they cannot pop spell traps as easy without their side deck, right? So having Tornado Dragon and like the Garunix, like I said, as like spell trap removal is still fine. Same idea with Ding, but Ding can send any card on the field, and it's non-targeting, which matters a lot as well. It also has the protection effect, which matters if you try to do like a Zeus line as well. Zeus, you're playing this many XYZs, you might as well play Zeus on top of it as well. Zeus is just a crazy ass card. And Typhon, because it does help you kind of like board break as well. Like if you're fine with going into a Typhon to clear a guy and then detaching like a Murakumo, if you have a Prayers, because then Prayers can just summon back Murakumo and then blow up the field during your opponent's turn. So Typhon is fine. Didn't make it once. This is, I guess, another card I did not make, but that's because usually I never wanted to make it, because like there was always opportunities I could make it, but I was like, I broke your field effectively enough. I don't need to make a Typhon to try to outmore, right? So that is it for the XYZs. And now for the fusions, which is obviously because we're playing Super Polymerization. is 1 Mud, 1 Garua, and 1 Secretarian. Yeah, this is fine. Mud and Garua are the best Super Poly targets no matter what, especially since Yummy plays into both of these cards, actually, which is very nice. Being able, like, versus Mitsurugi, you're playing into both of these cards as well. Best Super Poly targets in the game. And then you're playing Secretary Dragon for the Draco Tail matchup, and that's really it. That's all that Secretarian's in here for, is for the Draco Tail matchup. And that's it, just so you have a Super Poly against that. Because the Mud and Garua are actually dead against that matchup. So Secretarian is live in that matchup. So that is it for the extra deck. Again, just a toolboxy kind of extra deck. Not necessarily necessary, but, you know, still worked out for me. Now on to the side deck. 3 Droll and Lockbird. 3 Retaliating Sea. 2 Lightning Storm. 2 Book of Eclipse, 2 Thrust, 1 Talent, 1 Feather Duster, and 1 Dimensional Barrier. So this was my side deck, and this is the weird one, right? So Droll and Lockbird, I think this is probably a main deck staple. I probably should be main decking this card now. I think every deck is pretty much playing into it, with maybe the exception of Draco Tail is maybe the only exception to that, but even then they could technically play into it if they don't play around it straight away. So Droll probably should be in the main deck, but I think this card's powerful in this format. So I side decked it. I put it in most of my matchups after game ones. Droll is just very powerful. Retaliating Sea, this is just more of a Draco Tail Floodgate as well, just in case you verse the Draco Tail, you have more ways to out Draco Tail. Never versed Draco Tail once this entire tournament, so I never put it in. But I also did put it in against Lunalight, because if they activate Polymerization when they're trying to do their setup combo, Retaliating Sea, making sure their cards get banished instead, does matter a little bit. Maybe they can still get the Liger Dancer, but if they only get to 1, you're fine with, because you have Wosu to out the 1, right? So I think in the Lunalight matchup, you still side this in as well, because being able to banish their monsters is still fine. And then 2 Lightning Storm. I know it's at 3, but I only had room for 2, so I just played 2. 2 Book of Eclipse was fine. I probably should be playing 3 of this, because in the Canine matchup, this matters, because Super Poly is very much dead in the Canine matchup. So being able to take out Super Polys for Book of Eclipse does matter. So I should probably be playing 3 Book of Eclipse. And a couple times I versed Canine, Book of Eclipse went so hard against them. 2 Thrust, just because Thrust is Thrust. Triple Tactic Talents, 1 Feather Duster, and 1 Dimensional Barrier. Pretty standard side deck kind of stuff as well. Honestly, to be honest with you, I would probably take out Thrusts and maybe put just D-Barrier to 3, to be honest with you. Didn't really like siding in Thrust whatsoever. Lightning Storms and Feather Dusters are fine, even though I didn't side them in that much. There are scenarios where I think I could probably side it in, but Thrust, I never really wanted to side in ever, so I probably should just cut these and just play 3 Dimensional Barrier. By the way, Dimensional Barrier, why the fuck is this card still legal? This card should be banned. This card is fucking ridiculously dumb. I don't know why this card is still legal. But that's it for the side deck. Again, pretty generic side deck, to be honest with you, but it ended up working out for me as well. So that is it for the deck profile. Now let's talk about YCS Anaheim. Shall we? Alrighty, sorry about that little cut there, but I honestly wanted to put this in a different section, because the section where I talk about my matchups and stuff like that kind of went a little too long when I did the initial recording, so I'm going to try to sum them up as fast as possible. So at this part of the video, if you want to see the deck profile, here you go. Just a Dueling Book deck profile there for you. But after this is all just going to be me talking, so you don't really need to watch the screen. If you want to kind of put this on the background, you can. So yeah, so I'm going to talk about my matchups day 1 and day 2, and then the how I like the format and where I think the format is good, but where it's also bad as well. So day 1, I did do the main event, but I did not play Mitsurugi in the main event. I played Draco Tail for the main event and just got absolutely destroyed. Absolutely just cooked in the main event. It actually really, really sucked really bad. First Guy Striker got floodgated out of the game straight away with Black Goat on game 1 and in game 3, so it just automatically lost the game to that. And then game 2, or round 2, sorry, I versed the Draco Tail mirror match, and Secretarian is just a card, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, that is just a powerful floodgate against Draco Tail. Obviously, Draco Tail doesn't have that much of a hard time to out it, because if they're able to fusion summon, the smaller guys can out it, but it's still like a problem, right? Being able to turn off like Gulamel or Athelion does do a lot against that deck. So I just ended up going 0-2 and immediately just dropping. I was like, screw it. Let's go run the giant card, shall we? And I played it with the pure Mitsurugi deck. Round one, so it was top 64. There were 64 players. Actually, there ended up being only like 45 for the first day of the giant card, but they made it where it was top 64, so a lot of people got the buy round one, and I was one of those people. So I was one of the really not like everyone. There were still people that had to play matches, but I was one of the not fortunate few, because there was a lot of us that did get a bye, but we did get a bye round one. And then round two, or so going into top 32 at that point now, I versed Lunalight, which this deck just has a really good out to. Game one, I actually lost because I bricked super, super hard. I won the die roll, but I bricked on like Shifter, Double Droplet, Afua plus Armasa. I know someone Armasa, he impermed it. I just lost the game. I shifted him, which did prevent him from playing a turn, but then I just top decked into a second Fua, which didn't really do anything, and then he got to play after that, so I lose game one. Game two, I end up on the full field of like IP, Murakumo, Habakiri, like 4 sets pass. He goes heavy poly, which I was actually fine with, because I was like, I don't really care about the Liger Dancer at this point, because I had like Wosu in the hand at that point, and also technically IP outs it, which he actually played into, because he just triggered Liger Dancer straight away, which I went chain IP, use IP, Murakumo, Habakiri, and his Liger Dancer into an Underworld Goddess, which is absolutely insane that I actually was able to do that, which auto just instantly lost him the game there, because I still had like prayers and stuff like that to beat whatever he had follow up. And then game three, I drew double Imperm Impulse, which pretty much will cook that deck, and yeah, it very much did. One Imperm ended his turn, and I had like full combo after that. So I won against the Lunalight player in the top 32 of day one. Going into top 16, I versed another Lunalight player. I lost the die roll this time. Game one, I fooled him, and he gave me so many draws to a point where I just impulsed to make sure he couldn't get to a second Liger Dancer, and then just Wosu outed the first one and just won the game right there. And then game two was kind of the same scenario, where I drew Fua, he gave me a shit ton of draws, and I just impulsed away for his way back to a second Liger Dancer, where the only one Liger Dancer didn't do anything, because I have the Wosu in the main deck. So both games decided by just Fua giving me draws into Impulse, and Impulse prevented the double Liger Dancer infield, so Wosu was able to check one of the Liger Dancers, which is really, really good for this deck. He probably admitted, because he was a really cool dude, he admitted to me he probably should have just stopped playing at a certain point, but he just didn't. He just gave me a shit ton of draws off of Fua, but a very cool dude. I really do like him. In top 8, I versed Yummy Mitsurugi, which game 1, I shifted him, so he just couldn't do anything, so I just win game 1. Game 2, I opened just Super Poly, so he ended up on like the full Mitsurugi Yummy field. I go normal summon Armasa Search, which he allows, and I go chain or Resolution Chain Super Poly, because Super Poly can actually play around Droll and Lockbirds. I don't know if I mentioned this in the deck profile, but in Super Poly and Droplet can both play around Droll and Lockbird, because since Droll is not a trigger effect, it is a quick effect, these cards can play around it, because Droplet can set a monster, meaning they can't respond with Droll. Same thing with Super Poly, just can't be responded in general, so it helps you play around the Droll and Lockbird pretty much. So I did that, made a Mud, and he just let me have the 2 level 4s on field, and I knew the back row was Prayers and Surprise. I'm like, okay, he doesn't have an Imperm for this. Let's just make an Exciton Knight, and Exciton Knight just absolutely cooked him. He just couldn't do anything. Cleared his field, and I just set up on the full Mitsurugi plus a Zeus on top of Exciton Knight after I declared an attack with it, to a point where he just couldn't come back for that. So I win that. In the top 4, I versed Pure Yummy, and game 1, I shifted him. You know, nice to draw shifter, to be honest with you. And then he activated Obedience Gold, and I chained Fua to that. So, you know, my hand kind of stacked. He just couldn't really do anything against that. So I win game 1. And then game 2, I did the Super Poly Impulse thing. So how I play against the or I guess this was pure Yummy, so it doesn't really matter. So I just I Super Poly'd his field and then just impulsed his Surprise, and I just won the game right then and there. And then in game 3, or sorry, well, we won that game because it was a 2-0. Now into the finals, I versed Yummy Mitsurugi once again. Game 1, I think he won the die roll game 1, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how I played it. I think I just impulsed his like way to the ritual summon, and then like just had like Droplet for Snatchy or something like that, and then just won the game. Like, because again, if you can stop their ways to synchro summon and you can make sure they don't get to their Mitsurugi portion. The Mitsurugi has a really good matchup against the Yummy deck, just the Yummy deck in general. So that's perfectly fine with you. So that just won me the game 1. And then game 2, I don't think he really set up on like the full field, if I'm not mistaken. Like, maybe I drew Super Poly. I could be wrong. I'm trying to remember this. I might not be remembering it to the full extent because I did play a lot of games over the past weekend. So I'm trying to remember as much as possible, but I am forgetting. I forgot how it went. But we got to a point where like I just broke his field with the Mitsurugi guys, and he was top decking into nothing. Like, at a certain point, I just knew he had all Mitsurugi cards, so I'm like, oh, okay, I can beat your Mitsurugi. I don't really care about that, because if your Mitsurugi is a lot worse than my Mitsurugi, because I'm on the full engine while you're on the smaller engine, right? So we just got to that point, and obviously I just outgrinded him from that point. So I did win the giant card on Saturday, and then on Sunday, it ended up being 128 players with no buy, so I had I had to play all the rounds here. So in top 128, I versed Yummy Mitsurugi once again. Game 1, he actually won because he called by my Fua, then went Talon Stuck in my hand, and I just got absolutely cooked by that. Game 2, absolutely just bricked, but the good thing about being bricked on this is Super Poly is still just a really good stop against the Yummy deck, that I was just able to Super Poly his 2 guys out of the way into a Garura, and then I think I had a Droplet on top of it, so I went like Droplets and Garura, get a draw, and then drew for turn into playable. I was like, thank God, and he didn't really have hand traps, so I was able to play through his stuff and win the game. And then in game 3, he went first. I think he didn't even get to the Mitsurugi portion of the deck. He just kind of had to go with his Yummy thing. I think I might have impulsed him. But again, Mitsurugi has a really good matchup into just the Yummy deck to a point where you don't necessarily care. So, because Mirakumo just being a board wipe is absolutely ridiculous. So, I just win the game because he just sets up on the pure Yummy field. I might have like impermed his Herald or something like that, and I just broke his field after that. So win the top 128. And then now into top 64, I versus Canine Archmage, which is a very interesting deck. But he won the die roll, but bricked like super, super hard. He normal summoned Azuna, send Lupus, set 1 pass. I drew for turn. He activates the trap card that they play, the Meteos, that can summon Meteos pure from deck, and also has like a graveyard effect to pop a card, but you can't do both effects per turn, so that didn't matter. So I chained Fua to that. He chains Ash. This is all in draw phase, by the way. So he chains Ash to it. I'm like, okay. That's fine. He goes, summon Meteos appear, use the effect of special. I'll just chain Impulse to that because I don't really want to deal with you fusion summoning during my turn. So that's fine. So still in draw phase, I go, okay, I'm going to Prayer's Tribute my Habakiri because that's usually something I don't like doing. I like the Prayer's Tribute in draw phase a lot, but I don't like tributing Habakiri, especially if Habakiri is my only way to play because you just want to make sure, because just in case this gets ashed or something like that, you can be in a rough position. But since he already wasted Ash on Fua, I was like more confident. So I did that, which ended up playing around a Droll and Lockbird that he had in hand, which was really good because I OTK'd him through, and he didn't even activate Droll because I got to the like Murakumo in the draw phase with the ritual spell, and then just did that. And then won the game from there. Game 2, he sets up on the full field. I drew, I think, Droll and Lockbird, but he played it correctly by summoning a Ripper first before he did any searching. I still activated Droll just to force out because Habakiri does trigger in hand. I think that was like the only playable card. I had like 1 Habakiri, 2 Murakumo, 1 Futso. Like, I drew like 4 ritual monsters. So I'm like, fuck, okay, I have to make sure this Ripper gets outed. So I changed Droll, even though I knew it was going to get negated. I needed to force it out. And then he goes full field. I draw Book of Eclipse for turn, which was insane. But I have to go Habakiri, tribute Wosu, add back to make sure I can out the fusion monster that's an Omni Negate for the field, which is nice. So I do that. Then I go Book of Eclipse. Then I go Ritual, or Wosu Tribute Futso search Ritual to summon from hand Murakumo. He changed Tikaboo. Now looking back, my Wosu should have been face down because Book of Eclipse flips everything face down. But in the moment, Wosu was still face up, so I just look at it and I'm like, oh, I just lose to Tikaboo. But looking back on it, the Wosu should have been face down, so the Tikaboo shouldn't have done much. It probably still wins him the game, don't get me wrong, but I should be able to summon that Murakumo at that point. But since I guess we just both forgot that Book of Eclipse does both players, Wosu wasn't face down, so I just get fucked by that Tikaboo. And then round 3, or game 3, I shifted him. I know shifter isn't the greatest against K9 because they can still play, but I still do that, and it actually ends up working for my benefit because he had a Zuna, but he can't send Lupus. But he drew Lupus for in his hand as well, so he had a Zuna Lupus. So I'm like, okay, that's something to deal with. But I had like full Mitsurugi combo. It was like shifter plus like 4-card combo. So I'm like, I can deal with an Azuna. He made like a Ripper or something like that, which I was able to deal with straight away because Murukuma could just board wipe it, right? And then I just was able to set up on full field. He had like 3 cards in hand, or 2 cards because I made him discard off of Murakumo as well. So he just ends up just losing that game straight away in that. So that was my top 64. Top 32, I versed Unchained, which was really, really surprising. He goes first. He goes full combo because I drew no hand traps. Ends on like DDD, Muckraker, Imperm, something like, or not Imperm, a bomb set, and I think he might have like a hand trap or something like that. But I drew Imperm for turn, which was enough because the DDD was really the only thing I was scared about, and I drew Imperm, so I was like, cool, I'll just Imperm your DDD. Going to I made a ding play to make sure I can force out the back row without popping it because that would trigger the Yama that was in the graveyard. And it doesn't target, so it does make it where he can't even summon Soul Rage off the bomb because I'll just send it. So he allows that to happen. I go to battle, attack into the DDD against Ding, so I detach from Dingirsu to protect the Dingirsu, make a Zeus, wipe his field without destroying any cards, which was very important to make sure I didn't trigger Yama. It was still like a grind match because I still ended up in the Mitsurugi stuff, but he drew Talents, which was very, very impactful for him. So he stole my Murakumo, but Futso just kind of kept me in the game because every time he would special summon, I would just special back reptiles from the graveyard, and he couldn't really just penetrate from the field because he was only on like 1 card in hand at all times, so he didn't really have a way to keep pushing, right? So Futso kind of just won me the game from there, and then game 2, I shifted him. So, I mean, it just dies the shifter, right? So he just makes a DDD pass, and I just imperm the DDD. He had, like, double Droll in hand, but obviously you can't activate Droll under shifter. So, shifter, powerful card. They should probably ban this card. So I win the top 32 match with that as a 2-0. Top 16, I end up versing K9 Vanquish Soul. So game 1, I drew like double Imperm, double Impulse, plus Hobby Kiri. It was like an absolutely ridiculous hand for me, and I think I drew into pre-prep as well, which is to solidify the field, right? Because I go Imperm his Noiri, he normal summon, then he goes Pot, get Rhoda get Raisin, then goes Stake Your Soul, reveal Raisin. I'm like, okay, he's probably going into Jiaolong somehow, so I'm going to Impulse his Stake Your Soul, which just ends his turn, and then obviously drawing the pre-prep return was absolutely ridiculous, so I just win the game. He like had a Ghost Bell, which did prevent me from like OTKing him, but I still got like the full field, so it didn't really matter. Game 2 though, I'm trying to remember what happened game 2. I remember having a Feather Duster in hand. I forgot how it worked. He got to like some sort of end field. I remember our hand wasn't the greatest. He did win game 2. I'm just, again, trying to remember, but I really don't remember what happened there. I remember having a Feather Duster. I think I maybe had an Impulse for like his Holy Sue to make sure his Holy Sue just didn't hit the field. But I don't know. I think he still got like to rank 5s, which still didn't matter. So I think I just ended up losing that game anyways. And I think he had a Droll and Lockbird on top of everything anyway. So I don't think I was winning that game. And then game 3, I just set up on the full field of Futso, Murakumo, IP, Evil Swarm, Nightmare, plus like 4 back row, like Magatama, Purification, Prayers, wherever Prayers was at, Prayers, and I think I had like a Droplet or an Imperm or something like that, because I started out as Super Poly, because Super Poly is terrible against any K9 variant, so there's no point of keeping that in. So I just win the game that way. He just couldn't break through the field, and I win. In top 8, I versed Yummy Mitsurugi once again. Game 1, I was so close to breaking his field. I was playing around 1 unknown back row. I drew the Super Poly Impulse, which is just back breaking against a deck like Yummy Mitsurugi, because you can Super Poly their Yummies away, and then Impulse the surprise. You're just making it where it's Mitsu versus Mitsu, and you're going to win the Mitsu versus Mitsu because your engine is a lot better than their Mitsu engine, right? So that was very impactful, but my final cards in hand was Ritual plus Murakumo, which I'm like, okay, game's over, right? I can clear his field. I just have to play around this one back row, which I was expecting to be like Imperm or something like that. But I have a Magatama in hand. I'm chilling. I can play around it, right? And then he goes, I go Ritual, someone from hand. He goes Chain Black Goat, call Murakumo. I go, damn. Was not expecting that to be Black Goat. So I just do lose. There's a way you could play around it, but I just couldn't. I just wasn't expecting it, so I didn't play around it, unfortunately. Game 2, I bricked super hard. I drew like D barrier, super poly, impulse, droplet, which was awful. And I drew like Murakumo, which I'm like, cool, this doesn't do anything, right? So I set D barrier, set super poly, pass. He goes activate ritual, summon from hand. I go D barrier, and he doesn't do any other Mitsurugi stuff. So I'm like, okay, there's a Murakumo in his hand that's just completely dead right now. Good. We're on both on the same page right now. And then he goes into his yummy combo. I go super poly, summon Garua, and that ends his turn. I draw into fucking Futso. I'm like, oh my god, get me out of this brick, right? I go attack with Garua, pass. And he goes draw, normal summon, go into minion effect to place. I go droplet, send the fucking Garua from the graveyard, negate that Snatchy because he's probably on a brick as well. I draw into I think I drew into an Imperm. I'm like, oh my god, give me just any engine. He passes to me, finally drew into prayers. I'm like, thank the god, I win. And like, he didn't have any hand traps because he cited in like Dark Ruler No Mores and stuff like that to kind of more board break. So I ended up winning the game right then and there. And then game 3, he had to on the same field and the same thing. I drew into Super Poly Impulse, which is absolutely ridiculous. That if you could draw these two against that deck, it's absolutely just game over because you could just prevent their yummies, which is insane. So I do that, and I also do the Super Poly to play around Droll and Lockbird, and then I Impulse to Surprise, and then I search off of Armasa, and then he drolls me on Resolution. I'm like, I can still kill him through this because I have Habakiri plus Murakumo. I'm like, I'm chilling. Activate Ritual. He goes Chain Black Goat, so I can't summon Murakumo from hand. I can summon Habakiri, summon like send Kusanji, add back the Ritual, summon from deck, tributing Murakumo, special summoning another Habakiri from deck, and then going Mirror because I resolved a pre-prep earlier in that turn because I went pre-prep and then chain Super Poly to play around the Droll and Lockbird. So I go Mirror, tribute the Habakiri on field, summon Murakumo from graveyard, which Black Goat allows you to do, and that just wins me the game because I have Habakiri, Murakumo, which is 24 and 32. So that's, 32, 40, 50, 56. Armasa, which was, Armasa was on the field? Oh, sorry. I also had Wosu. I think I ended up drawing Wosu. So that gave me another 2k body plus Armasa, which just ended up winning the game right then and there. And then, because I just tributed a random guy off of Wosu because I'm like, I don't care. I just need this guy on the field for damage, right? So that wins me the game. That was top 8. So in top 4, I end up versing Orcus Mitsurugi. Game 1, he wins the die roll, goes full fucking combo. Just, they're unbreakable. Like, I was not breaking that field. I nearly did. Still was not breakable. I was nowhere near breaking that field. But I lose game 1. Game 2, I end on the full field of Murakumo for back row, Futso, Evil Swarm, IP. He nearly breaks the field, but it's still, I think my one Magatama was enough to make sure he just couldn't play. So I win the game there. And then Game 3, I shifted him, and he played it correctly. He went his Mitsurugi stuff and decided he wanted to get to Galatea to set the crescendo to make sure he can Omni-negate like the Ritual or something like that, right? Which is correct. But the problem is I also drew Super Poly, so that just wins the game immediately, right? Because there's no recursion for him after that, so I just automatically win the game there. And then in the finals, I just got absolutely cooked by Yummy Mitsurugi. Game 1, he goes full combo and then Drolls and Lockbirds me. I just couldn't play around it, unfortunately. So I just lose game 1. And then game 2, he Fua'd me, and then he ashed the Ritual, which was kind of really bad for me. I set a Super Poly, have an IP pass. He plays around the IP really well, and the Super Poly was just not enough to stop his turn. So I just lose the game in the finals there. So even though I said I was going to try to condense that down as much as possible, still 20 minutes, but that was still shorter than the initial recording. I think the initial recording went like 30 minutes or something like that. So that was my matchups. And then my final thoughts on the format as well. I think the format could be good, but the problem right now is there's just so many goddamn floodgates in this dumb fucking format. And there's also things like, what's his name? Artifact Molnir that just completely locks you out of the game. The cards that are able to give your opponent's cards should not just be legal. That shouldn't be a thing that should exist in the game, to be honest with you. But there's floodgates like D barrier that shouldn't exist. Shifter should also just be banned, to be honest with you, because this is just game winning. There's things like DeFi that also should probably go back to 1 or something like that. There's just like so many floodgates in the format, and this is something I've talked about in the past when you look back to my ban list prediction videos, where I go, format is fine, they just need to get rid of these fucking problematic floodgates. They did not do that, and guess what? Problematic floodgates are becoming a problem. So that should be the next thing they should do. They're also going to hit the fuck out of Mitsurugi because it's getting splashed and everything. Even though King got hit, this is still getting fucking splashed and everything. So they probably should hit Mitsurugi somehow as well in the next list. So yeah, that is it for the video. I'm going to stop talking now. I know the video has already been long enough. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe for more content on the channel, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.